Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Gangrene Chronicles channel. This is our third fan therapy session and Q&A stream. After a humiliating loss yesterday to the Dallas Cowboys, 37-22 was the final score. A lot closer than the game actually was. And I'll start this out by saying a common saying by WFAN legend Joe Beningo, right? Now, he's said this over many years, but he's also said different variations of this. And I'm going to vary it a little bit as well. You can change the coach. You can change the general manager. As I said, I'm going to vary this. You can change the coach. You can change the general manager. You can change the ball boy. You can change the stadium lights. You can change the uniforms. You can change the color of the uniforms. You can change the uniform font, the uniform logo, as the Jets have many times done. You could change the locker room. You could change the locker room lighting. You could reinvent the locker room. You could change the lunchroom, the kitchen, the type of food you're serving inside the building. You could change the quarterback. You can change you can change whatever you want to change, he says, Mr. Beningo. They are still the New York Jets. And real quick, before I let on my guest, what's up? Tons to rant about tonight. We're a damn good. We had a damn good week of practice. Damn good week of practice. Don't forget that, Eagle Fang. Robert Saleh's, I know what that says, brother bashing the Jets for no reason. His comparing Saleh and Aaron Glenn is like comparing two different illnesses when it comes to Jets head coaches. That's my personal opinion. I'll keep it at that. I'm not going to go into that. Aaron Glenn, the first Jets rookie coach, start 0-5, and the first NFL team to start 0-5 with no turnovers in the season. Jets finding new ways to suck. That is very apparent, but fans will preach patience, some, not all. Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. Mac Jones, 2 years, $8 million. When do we start looking into the other clues? When do we start looking into the other clues, DM the clown? Well, I actually have a name for him. His name is Mooj the Stooge. What's up to Jacob? I saw him in the Pinch Up Chronicles chat. Last one, before I get on my guest, the offense got exposed big time. You just blitzed the young guys and confused them attack the interior offensive line, which is very bad. Eberflus knew what to do against Fields. He coached him. Yeah. You would think that the Jets had the 32 ranked passing defense facing the Cowboys instead of the role reversal. But I wanted somebody to share my misery with tonight, and I'm sure he's going to go off, and I'm going to let him. So, Vinny, I have to ask you, are we built for this shit?
Never were, bro. Never were. And I think you were on the same page as I was when we first brought this guy in at the beginning of the year, and I said, it's rinse and repeat. Did we not just do this with Saleh and company? David Portnoy was mocking us earlier today on Twitter, and I hate to agree with him being a Boston-based fan, but he was right. He goes, they fired a defensive guy for another defensive guy, and the defense has gotten considerably worse. Only the Jets. Only the Jets. And I to some of you bozos on there that don't like what I tweet about, I speak the truth. I've seen so much bad from this team. So much bad. It's just it's like there's only you could say so much when you've seen it over and over and over again. If I'm Woody Johnson and you're watching this garbage, I mean, what's the magic number it's going to take to make this guy one and done? Me personally, I think it would be 15 losses. But to others, it would be, I've also read rumors online he could go winless and they're not going to can him, to which I say, how do you sell the fan base next year to buy your PSLs? How do you convince me, the fan, to believe that this is still my best option to get to the Super Bowl? I don't see it. I don't see it. They are in so over their head, whether we're talking about Glenn, Wilkes, Eagstrand, who I never crowned for the record. The offense is just dink and dunk. It's like it's Chad Pennington in the later years all over again. They don't take one shot downfield. We have no weapons. And furthermore, when it comes to the offense, and I've been big on preaching that they need an offensive guy. What is this team's identity, guys? Do you want to be a run-first team? Do you want to be pass-happy? Do you want to run play-action pass? Do you want to play smash-mouth football? Do you want to shut down defense? I don't know what they are. What are they? Help me.
Vinny, they do have an identity for incompetence, for penalties. Remember, Aaron Glenn was talking about he had some dumbass quotes today, must I say, for the record. I apologize to anybody who's like anti-profanity. I'm just about to go off. You earn your keep. That's one of the things he said today. I'm like, oh, really? So I guess Michael Clemens, Brandon Stevens, all these guys, that Andre Cisco, Tony Adams, they could all play terrible, but they earned their keep. Jamal Pritchett in preseason, he apparently didn't earn his keep, but Xavier Gibson did, and then he fumbled away week 1. He got cut, which I said was reactive, not proactive. He also, Aaron Glenn was like, oh, I really think the guys are buying into what we're doing. What are you doing? What are you doing that's progressing? Vinny, you mentioned the quote. I think it might have been from Olsen. It might have been from Portnoy. They were on the same panel. What unit of the team has gotten better through 5 weeks? And people are like, oh, it's patience. Rome wasn't built in a year. All these different patience quotes, right? It's 5 games into the season. There's no player or unit that has gotten better, whether it's offense or defense. The quarterback hasn't gotten better. There's nobody taking a step back. Step up, excuse me. Sauce Gardner, don't even call him Sauce anymore. He's Soft Gardner, getting beat on that touchdown. And then he's like, oh, I expected safety help, I think he said. I'm like, bro, you don't deserve the captain thing on your uniform. You absolutely do not. Garrett Wilson is literally the only guy on this ball club right now that I legitimately feel bad for. Maybe the 2 tackles, but like guys like Will McDonald. Let's put this out there for the record. I'm going to say it right now, I hated the Will McDonald pick. I said I wanted Smith and Jigba. I wanted other guys because Will McDonald was actually projected to be a 2nd round, 3rd round pick. The Jets overdrafted him. He is a pass rush specialist. He is a rotational edge rusher. He is not an every down guy.
Couldn't have said it better, Luca. I mean, everything you said, it's you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I can't hold the sins of the past regime against these guys. Let's be fair. We all wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I just think that the front office, or more importantly, the ownership, because that's the common denominator of the last 20 years that doesn't change. The ownership has not changed. I'm not into these rah-rah stories that, well, we're giving this guy the job because he was a Jet. He was one of us. Oh, we're drafting Jeremy Ruckert because he grew up a Jets fan. I don't need a Disney story. I don't care. I want the best available talent, the best available coaching that gives us the best chance to get to the Super Bowl, because this is the goal at the end of the day. Fellas, for those of you who are watching, the older fans like myself, I have not missed a snap since week 1 of 1997. For those of you who know your history, that's when Bill Parcells got the job. That's when I wanted to become a fan of this team, because he gave this team instant credibility. They were the worst team in football. You can't tell me that you can't rebuild a franchise in 2 years or less. When Kotite was here, when I wanted nothing to do with being a fan of this team, of course, I listened to my father and let him brainwash me. But 1995, they were 3-13. 1996, they were 1-15. Parcells came here. He cleaned it up. They were 1 game away from getting a wild card in his first year on the job. The very next year, we were 15 minutes from the Super Bowl. It's difficult. It's not impossible. But you need to get a veteran head coach for a reclamation job like this. 7 out of the last 8 hires have been first-time defensive guys. I don't even want to acknowledge the Adam Gase hire. We know what that was. That's a conversation for another day. There are quality coaches right now on October 6, 2025, sitting at home unemployed. And agree or disagree, you could say whatever you want. They got proven track records. Mike McCarthy needs a job. John Gruden needs a job. You don't want a guy that has a ring? Cliff Kingsbury needs a job. You can't tell me there's not guys out there that would take this job right now. And you know what? Even if you have to do what Leon Hess did in 97 and say, save my franchise and tamper with another team and give up draft compensation. Oh, well, it's rare that you trade draft capital for coaches. I don't care. I really don't care. You know who I would trade for? It would never happen in a million years. I would give up the sun, the moon, and the stars to get Sean McVay in the building. Or if he shook loose, there's 2 guys I keep hearing, if they shake loose, if things go to hell in a handbasket, which that would be wonderful for us, selfishly, John Harbaugh I hear, and another one not enough people are talking about is Kyle Shanahan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And the whole coaching search was a scam in January. Again. I know it's like 5 games of the season, but we're once again revisiting the issues of the organization. And Connor Hughes mentioned this, and I've met Connor. I like Connor, but I disagree with this point. Well, the coach has a guaranteed salary in his first year. They're not firing him. Well, they might not fire him, but let's stop with the money thing. Let's stop with the money thing, because apparently, per the Post, Woody has paid the highest ever for a coach for Aaron Glenn, supposedly. Now, I don't know how true that is. I think that was like with Frankie V and Brian Costello were talking about it. But if that's the case, you paid Aaron Glenn more than you would have went out for Harbaugh or Peyton, who I said they should have gotten. I know, coulda, woulda, shoulda. If you're going to, let's just say this season goes to disaster, which I think it will, unfortunately, and the team has the first overall pick, and you have your selection of quarterbacks: Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, Garrett Nussmeier, and John Mateer. First overall pick, you have cap space. You don't think that's attractive to John Gruden? You don't think that's attractive to Mike McCarthy? You don't think that's attractive to anybody else? Why should I and it's, again, walking down the same road. First-time OC, first-time head coach, rookie quarterback. That is a registered coordinator who can develop a quarterback. Because, first of all, you're not only supposed to develop the quarterback, you're supposed to establish who your guy is. You have to evaluate that. That's the problem. But this, we're seeing it right now. Obviously, you have the Jaguars and Chiefs playing on Monday night. And the Jaguars, 3-1? Liam Cohen. Why did the Jets not interview him? Why?
They didn't even contact him. That's the sad part. And going back to this coaching search, and Lord knows, this is not the first time Woody has reached out to somebody else to do his dirty work for him. Why is there not being more of an emphasis put on the 33rd team? Woody spent millions of dollars to a GM. He fired him over 10 years and reached out to him again and said, "Save my franchise, only the Jets." Who does this? And if this is a disaster, after they interviewed 30-plus candidates and they make this one, what does that say about the reputation of the 33rd team? I would like somebody, whether it's you, Luca, or Dan Show, or O'Leary, or one of them, I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth. Get Mike Tannenbaum on here. I just want to know what convinced them to say Aaron Glenn is the Jets' best chance to win a Super Bowl. Not bring them back to being competitive, which I know that's where it starts. But ultimately, you're hiring a guy to win you the Super Bowl. That's what I want to talk about. And guess what? We haven't had a coach get hired or talk about Super Bowl since Rex Ryan.
Exactly. And I'm just going to look over the interviews for head coach, how they did the interview process. So, head coach, the first guy was Ron Rivera. Second was Mike Vrabel. He was ultimately hired to be the Patriots head coach. And Glenn. Then it was Mike Locksley, the coach of Maryland,
who
I think I'm pretty sure is undefeated right now. I'm not saying the Jets should have hired him, but that was just a ridiculous candidate to look at. Small school.
That was a sham interview.
That was a sham. Steve Spagnuolo, Darren Rizzi, the former special teams coach of the Saints, I believe, and he was obviously the interim when Dennis Allen was fired. Jeff Ulbrich, which was obvious because he was the interim head coach, but bad anyway. Vance Joseph, Arthur Smith, Bobby Slowick, Brian Flores, Jeff Halfley, Josh McCown, and Joe Witt Jr. Does that list say John Gruden, Cliff Kingsbury, Mike McCarthy, or even Todd Monken?
No, and the thing is, we settle for this mediocrity. I mean, even when we pick out when we assemble the staff, I bet most fans don't know, Eggstrand wasn't even the first choice to be the OC for AG. No. He wasn't even the second choice. Fellas, he was the third choice. The first choice was, I can't think of his name. It was the tight ends coach for the Rams. And he wanted no part of coming here.
Caley,
I can't think of his name.
Caley,
yes.
I think his name was.
I think it's Nick Caley.
Nick Caley.
And he said, hell no. I don't blame the guy. You know what option number 2 was? Josh McCown. And Josh McCown said he didn't want to be OC. If he was going to transition to the next phase of his career, he wanted to be a head coach. So we settled on Tanner Eggstrand. I mean, this is the problem with the ownership. They settle for mediocrity. We settle for whatever we could take. You have to have this Leon Hessma. I know I'm getting repetitive here. I know
No,
I am.
I understand.
Reach for somebody, even if you have to overpay, for Christ's sake. I don't care. You can't convince me. You can't sell me. It would be nice to get an offensive guy, but to fix this disaster, I need a proven name, a big name. And you know what? Landing the number 1 overall pick will make the job that much more attractive. Money will make the job that much more attractive. And yeah, you'll have Glenn on the books for another 4 years. Woody's a billionaire. It's not our money. I couldn't care less. Rip the Band-Aid off. Be a man. Come out in front of the fans. Take ownership. You know, you're not going to apologize. We know that'll never happen. But just say, this is on me. I've let my fans down, and they deserve better. The Jets have an excellent fan base. I mean, we've been putting up with this bullshit for so many years. You can't hurt us anymore. Like, and I'll be the first Jet fan to admit I did not watch the game yesterday. I was actually at a wedding in New Jersey, and thank God I stayed the hell away from the Jets yesterday. But when I saw the score, I must have had a look on my face, and my father looked at me and goes, "Vin, are you really upset? When was the last time you were truly upset over the Jets?" And I really had to pause and think. I was like, you're right. I can't remember the last time I was actually really upset over something petty like football. I'm just numb to it now. And that's terrible to say.
It's endless futility. That's what it is. I want to get to a couple comments. I'm not built for the shit, says Eagle Fang. Eagle Fang says he's been a fan since 1990, so he saw the Kotite years. Sherwood was the team captain, was beat for nearly all the touchdowns in yesterday's game. Great extension, by the way. Not only obviously they re-signed him, they gave him the captaincy. You watched that Jake Ferguson touchdown, that dude was giving like half-assed effort, even less than half-assed. He could give a shit. Nobody's bought into this coach. Dude does not have the talent and smarts. Like, yeah, absolutely. Mosley was a leader. I'll give him that credit. Dallas did a play action yesterday. Clemens, yeah, I saw that. I saw the film breakdown. Clemens they did like a rollout to the right. Clemens was going to the left as it was a run play. He's trash, but yeah, he gets 13. Patriots beat the Bills at Buffalo yesterday and 1 game away from matching their season high wins from last year. And let me say this for the record, and I'll continue with the comments and we can continue the dialogue. I was merciless, and I'm not a victim. I'm not a martyr. I always say this. I was mercilessly attacked and called names for simply posting Aaron Glenn clapping his hands after losing to the Bucs in a game-losing field goal. For posting that, people called me a fucking idiot, a geek, a loser, go root for the Bills. Oh, we can't beat the Bills. They're a Super Bowl team. We're not even close. This is going to take a while. Aaron Glenn's a good coach. He just doesn't have the talent. Hey, funny, I'm not the biggest fan of Mike Vrabel, but he's a proven head coach who's done it before, and he obviously just beat the Buffalo Bills. So that's what's going on in the division. And hey, look, they have a franchise quarterback too. When can we get that?
Yeah, and you're not wrong to mock him in that sense. I mean, how about in the Cowboy game yesterday? There was a point, it was 30-3. It was 4th and short. You're on the Dallas side of the field. I caught the highlights, guys, and what did AG do? This is the guy that came from Detroit, and Mike and Campbell, that they were constantly going for a 4th down. We knew we were going to lose the game. What if he opted for 3 more points? Go for it. I don't understand.
What do you have to lose?
What does that say about your confidence in your offense? It was 4th, and I know you're going to lose the game, but what is tacking on another 3 on there do for you? Does it just soften about how badly you were embarrassed at home, and knowing the crowd was 50% Dallas fans? What an embarrassment! What a disgrace! It reminded me of Bowles in his last game as head coach of the Jets. We were losing 42-0 in Foxborough. 4th and goal from the 1-yard line, and to avoid the shutout, he sent out the field goal unit. Give me a break.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. Let's see, but at least the Jets' practices are damn good. Damn good practice. That's all we hear from Aaron Glenn, because they're playing against themselves and beating themselves up. It's comical how every time a coach, you know what? So many coaches for the Jets have said it over time. Like Gase has said it, Salah said it, Glenn has said it. You really wonder if, and I'm not taking any blame away from Glenn. You really wonder if that's the Jets' PR unit at work. It almost has to be. because they want to mask their own incompetence.
I don't know many other teams that brag about how good practice was every week, because otherwise we'd be the ultimate dynasty right now. Like, I don't want to hear another word about practice. I mean, they're going to be playing the Denver Broncos in England this Sunday, and if I hear another goddamn word about practice and how great it was, and then I look at the final score and it doesn't translate, oh, we have every right to come after this guy. Every right. And I know they're not going to fire him midseason, no matter how ugly it gets. Well, he'll get the year. But again, if Woody, taps into these shows, or if he actually listens, we know he cares what people say about him. We know he cares what the fans think or whatnot. He lets people influence him, i.e. Peyton Manning. Let's not forget that. Charlie Casserly, Ron Wolf. I probably am missing a few others.
A Corn Ferry for the whole GM search back in 2013 when they hired John
Idzik, a guy who had nothing to do with the success of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He wasn't a GM. He was an accountant. That's what he was.
Yeah, he was just a cap guy. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Well, yeah, I mentioned it. So I mentioned it. I said I hated the draft pick, and I've like last year, you could say maybe I was wrong, but he is nothing more than a pass rush specialist, and that's because the Jets have a lack of talent at defensive line, which goes to last regime and this current regime. Tyler Barron sucks as a late round draft pick, yet he's getting time. And obviously, he's a young player. You would rather that over some. Let's see. Please, thank you, Chris. Much appreciated. Please like, subscribe to the Jets channel. Go Jets as always. Yep. If you wanted to know how was the Kotite era, you are witnessing it. Embarrassing L's, embarrassing pressers, stupid ownership and front office people. Same logo as Rich Kotite.
Can I comment on that? Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Thing? With all respect, and Kotite will always go down as the worst head coach in the history of the franchise. I remember watching those losses, and granted, I was 9 or 10 at the time. They weren't getting killed the way we are now. They were losing, and they were losing consistently. Those teams actually had talent. They had Keyshawn Johnson. They had a young Wayne Corbett. They had Mo Lewis. They had Marvin Jones. They had pieces there. That was part of the reason why Parcells took the job. Then he brought in his own guys from the Patriots at the time, which were the final touch. It just goes to show how much of an emphasis coaching really makes when you bring in a proven guy who's done this before. And furthermore, going back to Vrabel was in the building while Ulbrich was actually coaching the team still. Like, how embarrassing is that? Like, Ulbrich knew damn well he was in the building while he was getting the tour. And if you're Woody and whoever else is running the team and, got that lawsuit going on in the front office, let the man out of the building. I can only imagine the secrets he knows about what was going on with the roster, the team, the cap management. And then he traveled up 95, and he let that all out of the bag to Bob Kraft and company. I would have overpaid right then. And you know me, I have my issue with these defensive guys. Vrabel's a winner, though. And I know he would get this team to listen to him.
You know, it's funny. A few weeks ago, I think the Patriots lost. Might have been week 3 or whatever. I actually saw a Jets content creator, a notable one at that, call basically Mike Vrabel a rich man's Robert Saleh, which was the most clownish thing you could possibly come up with. And he has some bad takes, but regardless, that's not the point. But I would have locked the doors. I would have said, okay, here's a blank check. You write how much you want me to pay you, and I will sign it. But again, the Jets are – and Vinny, here's another thing. The Jets had November, December to come up with a comprehensive list. But once again, we have Woody Johnson being influenced by outside people like Rick Spielman, who's now in the organization. I'll tell you what, if the Jets go 0-16 and Woody says to hell with Muji and Glenn, I know it's not – I'm not sure if it's popular or not. I don't care. I would say, okay, Rick, you're now my president of football operations. You're getting my head coach and GM.
I wouldn't like that because he's in the building right now. And Lord only knows
That's
how
true.
much say he's had on this roster. If you're going to do it and you want to do it the right way, I want everybody out. Honestly, and as far as the roster is concerned, I hate saying this. It just goes to show how bad there's only one person I would keep, and it's Garrett Wilson. I'll go out on a limb and I'll say I think Garrett Wilson is the best offensive player we've drafted probably since Keyshawn Johnson. And that's saying a whole lot. We're going back more than 25 years because this team isn't I've seen 2 Jets teams in my lifetime, and I'm almost 40. okay, that had a prolific top 10 offense. The Fitzpatrick year in 15, Vinny Testaverde in 1998. That's it. Other than that, I don't think they've ever been a top 10 offense going back that far.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for me, it's like one. I think it was the only one with the Fitzpatrick. That's the only one I saw. Let's see. Greg Olson was being interviewed by Dave Portnoy. He even notices how bad those practices are. That says something, because Glenn brought in referees for practice.
Ooh.
In training camp. He said that the players could tackle in training camp. How is that working out?
Doesn't that sound just a little high schoolish? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
These guys are grown men and they're getting paid millions of dollars. I mean, were they doing bull in the ring too?
And then, what do you call it? This week, which is apropos because he had the Braylon Allen fumble last week, we're going to do drills, ball security drills with the punching glove, the boxing glove. But how that works out really well because Brees Hall would fumble right in the red zone. So yeah, those drills are really working out. And then once again, this goes back to Aaron Glenn. I said this yesterday. Like, when Aaron Glenn first got the job, he was like a very loud Rottweiler, barking. Now he's a mute Chihuahua. He has literally no answers to any of his problems.
No,
none. And it's 5 weeks into the season. This isn't 2 years or 3 years. This is 5 weeks into the season.
No, and you're going to see a lot once we start getting into the meat and potatoes of the schedule, where the losses are going to start piling on, and it's going to wear on these players because players don't tank. You know, I'll be the first to admit, when I know the season the lost cause, I root for losses because I know it's to the benefit of the team long term. But players don't tank. But I tell you, you got to circle 2 games in particular. One is going to be the Carolina game for draft positioning reasons. And more importantly, I think it's going to be the Saints game closer to the end of the year. Now, if you can't beat those 2 teams, I'm just telling, how do you bring this guy back? And it's like, furthermore, I don't feel comfortable right now. And, you know, we got to give him the year, but I, at this moment, do not feel comfortable not only letting this man pick the next quarterback for the franchise, but I don't want him having any say in terms of grooming him. Eggstrand, I forgot the QB's coach name, but he's another waste of life. I mean, it's you.
Charles Lindbergh.
Yeah, you picked the wrong quarterback, guys. We've seen it. It's going to be 5 more years of losing and crummy Jets football.
Absolutely. And let's see. Hopefully, your Jets get a win. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not even going to watch. I'll be honest with you. I'm not even going to watch the game Sunday because A, I'm going to be at work, and B, I'm going to be at church because that's what I do every Sunday. But like, why would I ditch church and go home to watch this mess? Why would I do that? Even if they had one win, I'd be like, nah, screw this. And I don't know if they'll do a preview or whatever. We'll see what happens. Thanks to the Cardinals' epic choke against the Titans, the Jets are now the league's biggest joke in the basement. Yep, they will remain there. Patrick McAfee was talking about Fireman Ed's tweet today. It was funny. What did he tweet out? I'm actually going to check that out. Or Pat McAfee, because I know obviously there was somebody on either McAfee's show that went after Fireman Ed last year, the year before, or whatever. Let me see. If you could provide context, Eagle Fang, that would be great.
Was it really his account too? Because his actual Twitter is privatized.
Yeah, to me, like he has Instagram. He doesn't. I haven't seen his Twitter account, but if you want to put that up there, you can. Panthers improving. Yeah, they came back. They actually battled through adversity. But the draft sucks, so it doesn't matter to me. You're seeing some risers. You're seeing Fernando Mendoza. You're seeing Dante Moore, Garrett Nussmeier, who was considered last year to be one of the top in this year, and he's continued that. And then you obviously have John Mateer. So obviously there's new quarterbacks every year. I wouldn't say this draft sucks, but there's no number one consensus, which makes it more scary that someone would give Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji control over the quarterback position and how they evaluate it and how they develop it. Once again, you would be heading down the same road. Incompetent coach. I mean, well, not only incompetent coach, but inexperienced coach, an experienced OC, and a rookie quarterback. That's pretty much a disaster, recipe for disaster. We already learned that with Salas. So What is our to Armand? Hope all is well. There's a video. Okay, tagged you on Twitter. Yeah, I think we might have to share it. Let me see.
The thing is, guys, it's just if you get that quarterback pick right, everything else will just fall into place. The best example of it is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is on his third OC.
Exactly.
He's still putting up numbers. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, he went through Ken Dorsey, Joe Brady, Dayball. How could I forget Dayball? Yeah, you could take away McDermott. They took away Diggs. As long as that man is kept upright, the Bills will always have a puncher's chance. That's why it's so important to get the quarterback right and have the right people around him in his ear. I mean, look how they fouled up Zach Wilson. They had his coach from college and his head coach and the quarterback. How many voices? One guy.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
One guy. And furthermore, I'm surprised we haven't even talked about him yet. Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. He's bad. He's very bad. Can he play in this league? Yes, he could play in the league. I'll give him that. But he's not a QB 1 through 32. I think he's a QB 33 through 64. I have no issue with Fields being on the roster next year if they want to do it the right way and let him be QB1 week 1. And when the time is right, ease the kid into the starting lineup. Don't do it the way you did it with Geno, with Darnold, with Zach, with Sanchez. We can go on and on and on. It's gotten to the point where I'd feel more better if they just sit back and watch a little bit, even if the losses pile up again. And look at Jackson Dart. I know they're not a playoff team, but I see he's got something there.
He does. Thank God the Jets didn't draft a. You're absolutely right
but look. Not to cut you off, I apologize.
It's okay.
But look at the whole thing with Justin Fields even coming here, $30 million or whatever. Are we? I said when they brought him in, are we competing this year? Well, no. Why are you spending this much money when you have so many other holes on this roster? We have the 2 worst safeties in the league. We only have 1 corner, if you want to call him a starting caliber corner, and there's no pass rush. We have only a single wide receiver. I don't understand it. If you knew that you were going to be bad, I know this sounds crazy. I would have been perfectly fine trotting Tyrod out there. Exactly. If you know you're going to lose, what was the sense in dropping $30 million? I could go out there and play dink and dunk.
Exactly. And they essentially guaranteed him the starting job. There was no competition with Tyrod. Listen, Tyrod can play. There's no doubt about that. He wasn't exactly impressive in week 3, but there was no competition. They guaranteed him $30 million, Justin Fields. And you know what? Here's my issue, right? They knew what he was about. This was going to be his 3rd team in the last 5 years, 5 years in total of his career. They knew what he was about in Pittsburgh. They knew what he was about in Chicago, his struggles, his inability to read a defense, his internal clock.
He holds the ball. He holds the ball way too long, and he stares down his receivers, and he always checks down to the flat. I don't think he had one pass yesterday over 25 yards. Not one.
You know what? We could actually look that up. But it was like, dude, like he's staring into space. He can't read a defense, and it's it's like a twofold problem because A, he can't read a defense. B, who else are receivers? His receivers outside of Garrett Wilson. I'm not making excuses for the kid. The kid is bad, but great job by Darren Muji. Let's just sign some random guy named Josh Reynolds to be our wide receiver too. Let's sign some guy named Tyler Johnson. Let's overdraft Arian Smith to be hopefully our receiver of the future. Just random dart throws a wide receiver. Mason Taylor at tight end. Obviously I hope he has some potential down the line, but once again, it's talent evaluation. And it's not they hit on this and that and third. Out Membu still work in progress as well as Mason Taylor. Everything else between the draft and free agency is terrible. That's why fans are pissed because they have nothing to build off of. They have nothing. And you're going to, as well as the quarterback position, right? They have to get the other holes corrected, whether that's in the draft. And the Jets are supposedly going to have some money in free agency next year. Would you let Darren Muji spend it? I know the answer between us is no.
How are you going to convince free agents to want to come here based on the losing culture, based on who the head coach is, based on that field that you got to play on? That's another story we can touch base on.
Oh my God.
It's bad, and that's like we've been stiff before in the past. But there's players will use the Jets for leverage, and we all know the names: Anthony Barrs, Kirk Cousins. We've been used for leverage so many times, and then they'll take less to go for another team and actually have a shot at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Marcus Williams, I think, did that a few years ago. But I know Eagles Fang is raising some concerns about copyright. But I'll just put this up anyway. I don't think I'll get copyrighted, but anywho, Fireman Ed hasn't given up, has he? Is the tweet from Pat McAfee. And obviously, Eagle Fang tagged me. So let's play the clip. This is from the Jet Chef. I don't want to overreact, but the 2025 Jets might as well be a Make-A-Wish team for how they're putting their fans on death row watching whatever has been on the field the last decade plus. I will always say Jets fans need some serious therapy because of what we endured the past 15 years. And Joe Beningo's right, actually. You can make a point that he's right. The Jets are the worst run organization in professional sports. They are. I get it. The Steel. I get it. The Pirates. I get it. The White Sox. And the Pirates at least made the playoffs a few times during the Jets drought. You White Sox. At least they had a World Series in 2005. What do the Jets have? A few playoff appearances, 2 divisional titles, 98-02. Last home playoff game was before I was born.
I was there.
In 2003 versus Peyton Manning. I'm just going to see what Pat McAfee has to say. But
all right, last overreaction here from New York. The Jet Chef at the Jet Chef. Hashtag I don't overreact. But the 2025 Jets might as well be a Make-A-Wish team for how they're putting their fans on death row watching whatever has been on the field the last decade plus. Fireman Ed hasn't given up, right?
No.
Oh, I think Fireman Ed's fucking first class ticket to Bermuda. I think he's fucking out of there.
Yeah, no, this is Fireman Ed's fourth stint. He's given up 3 times already.
No, that's not.
Oh, they're just debating because I think this Patriots guy was the one going after it with Fireman Ed a year or two ago. But and I asked this, and I will never tell people how to spend their money. I never will. I haven't been to MetLife Stadium in 2 years, and I'm glad I haven't went. I'm obviously glad I moved elsewhere, but regardless, what is the reason to be a season ticket holder? What are the perks? Because now they took away some of the perks. Remember last year, it was people, it was a calendar. Oh, it was wine. It was a magnet you could put on your fridge. What are the perks? And people knew this team was going to suck this year.
Yeah, they're pathetic. I gave them my tickets after the actually coincident the Tebow year in 2012. That was more than a decade ago. And I kid you not, to this day, they're still calling me and begging me to come back. I mean, they've come up with new packages where you don't even need to buy the whole season. We'll give you 3 games for the price of 2.5. It's crazy. One time they asked me, if you come this weekend, single game tickets available as low as $75, and we'll give you coupons to all the concession stands. I'm like, oh, that's great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Do I really want to go there and freeze? Do I really want to go there and fight traffic? Do I really want to go there and get mocked by the fans of the other team? I mean, ladies and gentlemen of the show, I mean, I have small kids at home. I don't feel comfortable sending them to public school with their Jets gear. That's how bad it is.
I completely understand. You could just say to them on the phone, I could sit home, have a beer, sit with my kids and my wife or whatever, and watch the game for free at home. Why would I have to go there and watch a losing product and pay tolls, pay obviously gas, depends on how much you need, pay parking. Parking is very exorbitant for MetLife Stadium, especially if you're a season ticket holder, and pay game concessions if you choose to buy food inside the stadium, which is pretty mediocre, drink beer, piss-warm beer at best. Thankfully, I haven't had the beer at MetLife, never had the chance to, never will. But all those things, once again, Vinny, you said sitting in traffic. It was the game where Tim Boyle had the Fail Mary. I was actually in the press box. And it's 2 things. When that Fail Mary was returned, and this is Jets reporters, Giants reporters, people covering the game alike, because it was a national game, prime. The entire press box was laughing as the Dolphins player was returning that for a touchdown. And my former professor, who was once a member of 10-10 Wins, said, Who else would it be? What? Of course, it's the Jets. And then after the game, my brother and I sat out in traffic for 2 hours and 45 minutes just to go back to New York. Just as a member of the press, and I get it. It was free for me, but like
Woody, that was the Black Friday game, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Is Woody Johnson still pressing Roger Goodell to be the official Black Friday team? I don't think he is anymore. Remember that was a thing?
Oh my God. Thankfully he isn't. That as I said, that game was so bad on so many levels. Chris B says USC quarterback Jaden Mayava Crossbridge when he come to it in the offseason, focus on the rest of our Jet season. I hate talking draft and offseason mock drafts right now. I hate talking it too, Chris, but unfortunately, this is the level where we are as fans. There's literally no glimmers of hope. There's no, like, us fans, and I'm sure you too are, Chris. We're tired of hearing about effort. We're tired of hearing about moral victories. We're tired of blind faith as fans, right? And they had the Jets, as Eagle Fang pointed out, they're 0-5. They have no turnovers. There's no progression on either side of the ball. They have no wins. They couldn't even started this month with a win. If they ended off September with a win, like, okay, things are coming together. And let's point this out. This is for the chat. This is obviously for Vinny too. What game besides the Steeler game was 100% competitive? Which one? Because I'm missing it. That Bucs game, until the end when Todd Bowles took his foot off the gas, was uncompetitive.
It was still one-sided. The Bills game was a massacre. Yesterday was a massacre. How many more massacres are you going to put us through? I mean, it just makes me wonder, how did they compete in that Steeler game? Because the Steelers are actually decent.
Yeah, Steelers are a good team.
It shocks me.
And the Dolphins were 0-4, had one of the worst run defenses in football. Their offense was struggling. If they lost, probably Mike McDaniel would have been fired because that game was on national TV. They would have been 0-4. But the Dolphins looked like they had more to play for than the Jets.
Oh, they handled us. They handled us completely and embarrassed us on national television. And the thing that's funny is all we heard about late that night and into the next morning is, Connor Hughes and Rich Samini. We could hear Aaron Glenn just screaming at the team, screaming at the okay. And then they roll into with the Cowboys come in at home, and they did not respond to all the yelling. Listen, I don't like the coaches that are player friendly. I want ball busters, but clearly this guy's trying to be a tough guy. If you notice with new head coaches, the thing is they try to emulate whoever it was they came from. You see who he's trying to be. He's trying to be Bill Parcells. Bro, you know how many years it would take you to get to that level? It's just be yourself. And this man is in so over his head. For God's sake, he picked Steve Wilkes as his DC, another head coach that was one and done. He was one and done for a reason. He lost the locker room. His defense was atrocious. His offense couldn't move the ball. And that's who you said was the best man capable of running the defense. You're supposed to be a defensive guru. Call the goddamn defense yourself.
If he calls the defense himself, that immediately shifts Steve Wilkes as a potential scapegoat. And I'm not saying Steve Wilkes is blameless. He's very much to blame. But the pressure would
Rex called the defense. He had a defensive coordinator, but he still called the defense when he was here. And I'm not advocating for Rex. I thought it was silly that they brought him in for an interview at all. But listen, those were two of the best years I ever had as a fan. I don't think Rex overall was a good head coach, but he definitely knew how to motivate a locker room. I will give him that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that Glenn is essentially like a poser. He's not trying to be himself. He's trying to be Parcells. He's trying to be Dan Campbell, the rah-rah guy. I compare Aaron Glenn a lot to this coach. Joe Judge, he failed with the Giants. He was trying to emulate Belichick. And that word fell on deaf ears as of year two. How many players do you think have given up on Glenn and saying, you know what, this is the same old, same old. I'm just going to half-ass it. I'm sure there's a ton of players.
All of them.
The losing is
all of them. If it's season's end, you have what do they call it, Luca? At the end of the year, they meet with each individual player for an exit interview. How do you they have 27 expiring contracts, if I'm not mistaken. Of those 27 guys, how many of them are saying, boy, I want to be back at Florham Park. Man, I want to get this right for Coach Glenn. I'll tell you what the number, it's 0. This team is going to look completely different. We still won't be fully cleansed from the Joe Douglas mess. We're still going to have Rodgers on the books next year too, which is psychotic. But it's going to take a while. And that's why I was just like, Woody, please do the right thing. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Be a man. Be a man. And like, I mean, he's approaching the end of his life. Don't you want to see a Super Bowl once? How about even playing one? I don't even know what to say. And then people say, oh, who are you going to get to come here? There's guys out there. Trust me. It's New York still. You win here, you're a legend for life.
Exactly, with the Jets. Put your money where your mouth is. You know, just the whole thing is it's so bad. It's so bad. Chris says, is it Muji and Glenn overrating player evaluation, player development? Yes, it is. It is. I've said it for the past few weeks. It's the talent evaluation is piss poor. And you notice somebody said it. I don't know who it was. You notice that none of the Lions free agents came here at all, especially in the defensive side of the
Did
football.
you notice with the Detroit Lions that they lost both coordinators and they're still kicking ass? That's coaching. That's coaching. And furthermore, what came from Detroit? I'll tell you what came from Detroit. First off, Aaron Glenn was not a good defensive coordinator. Look up the final stats from last year. Their defense ranked 23rd. Ours is actually lower than that. Furthermore, Detroit led their defense, not collectively, but their defense led the league in penalties. We as a unit collectively now lead the league in penalties. It's true what they say. Old habits are hard to break. This team has no discipline. They have no direction. They're not listening to this guy.
No.
He can yell and scream. And they made such a big deal. The first preseason game, a third-string corner blew a cover. And he yelled at the third-string corner. Oh, he yelled at a guy, guys. We should look at that. Look at all the accountability. Look at the improvement you're going to see with. Give me a break.
Absolutely, break the Band-Aid off. Yeah, it was all for show. Jets Broncos, London this Sunday. Not going to be watching. Keys to the Broncos game. Aaron Glenn be better. Well, there's a certain bar that he has to fulfill to say I would approve. The defensive line must make some sort of impact. Turnover, sack, and take what the Broncos defense gives you. Don't force the ball against them. Yeah, that's a well-coached unit. Hey, here's another question, which people, still defend this player. Where's Quinnen Williams? It sounds like he disappeared after that contract extension. Had a bad year in 23, not a good year in 2024. 2025, he showed up in the Steeler game. Where else?
Would you trade him?
Yes, instantly. If I don't know what we would get, but obviously the Jets are going to be losing. And here's another thing too, like it's kind of, and maybe it's dangerous, maybe it's not, but at the deadline, the Jets are going to be sellers. They'll probably sell off Breece Hall. That's probably the best they can go. But do you trust a regime to be seller? I don't know how I would say this, but
well, you can't wait. I know what you're saying. You can't wait. They're here now, and now would be the time to make these deals. No, I hate the fact that we don't have. I think it's what is it? We don't have a third round pick because of the Hassan Reddick trade.
It was it could be, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the Hassan because we have a 1, a 2, and then we got like 3 6s and 3 7s. Which at that point in the draft, let's be honest, you're throwing darts against the board trying to get lucky. That's what it is too. The really great GMs, it's one thing that you hit in the first and second round. You're supposed to, but the true great GMs of this league are the ones that are finding starters 4 through 7. Those are the greatest ones of all. And it's just like in terms of selling, I'd get as much as we could. I was actually going to pose you a good scenario, Luca. Tell me this.
Yes.
Regardless if they go winless or they win one single game, or I think they're winning 2 games or less the way they look. If the football gods bless us with the number 1 overall pick, what would you think would be a better suggestion to really build this thing from the inside out? Do you stay at number 1 and get the quarterback of your choosing, regardless of who's pulling the trigger? Or do you sell the pick for multiple first-round picks this year and next year and really build this team?
That's a great question because, first of all, you don't know who's handling the picks. Second of all, it obviously depends on, and I know I'm answering arbitrarily, not so much my personal, but it obviously depends on who you believe is the best quarterback can this be like a tray of good quarterbacks? Because you look at Michael Penix, good quarterback, Drake May, good quarterback, Jaden Daniels, good quarterback. Caleb Williams obviously is very much TBD right now. But like, if you have that kind of a draft class, if this draft class coming up has that potential, I'm absolutely trading out of that pick. And again, we've had the first round. The last time we had the first round pick was, I think, 96. But at the end of the day, obviously, as I said earlier, I don't want Muji or Glenn making this pick. But if it's a guy like Harbaugh or whoever, and they're competent, I would trust their vision. I say, you know what? If you want to trade back, go ahead. There's more holes, and you need to put weapons around this quarterback, whether it's wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. And here's another thing, too. Back to my point, what I was trying to illustrate. What if there's a scenario? If Woody's smart enough, he could be dumb. We all know that. What if Muji is trading Breece Hall, and he's not it's a similar it's the similar thing to Douglas last year, right? Because the Jets were making moves for win now, and obviously Woody was in charge of these moves. What if the Jets have a guy like Muji who could be a lame duck? That's my concern. If he's a lame duck this year, if the Jets are that bad where he's a lame duck and he's making moves for the future, that would be ridiculous in my opinion. But
I mean, Woody Johnson's also the same guy that let Mike McCagnon run an entire draft and fire him a month later.
Exactly. But we all know at the end of the day, and also another thing, the Jets didn't have a third-round pick this year because the Davante Adams trade. Who pulled the trigger? It was Woody, and he overstepped Joe Douglas. But once again, it goes back to the lack of foresight. And Robbie Sable was describing this, and he was talking about, and people debate this on and off. The Steelers are successful with Aaron Rodgers, and I know it's the fallacy, the predetermined outcome. Would he have been successful with the Jets had he came back this year with the Jets?
No. Where are we going with a 42-year-old quarterback that's going to be getting a new head coach, a new OC, a new quarterback coach? It was the right move to get. That's the one good thing I could say so far is they cut bait with Aaron Rodgers. We were trying to win a Super Bowl the last 2 years. Now we're starting over. He already has come out and said, this is it. Like, Rodgers didn't want to be here. I don't care what he says on his podcast. He's full of shit. There was no future with him. There was no future with Davante. None of that. We hand up. I'll admit it. I wanted the man here. It didn't work out. It didn't make any sense for him to come back here. I'm sorry.
And like, I understood Robbie Sable's logic. I think he's very good at covering the Jets, and I think he knows the issues. And he essentially was like, Rodgers and Davante Adams were painted as the bad guys by majority of the Jets organization, the Jets fan base. They made the decisions to go away with them. Okay, but once again, talent evaluation under Aaron Glenn and whatnot. He was talking about that, and I said, you know what, Robbie, I'm going to give you this. You could say what you want about the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. I said this last year. I said last year before the season that the Jets would fail. The 2024 season, I said they would fail because Aaron Rodgers had to overcome not one, not two, but 3 levels of incompetence. He had to change the entire face of the organization. He had to be the face of all the incompetence and redo that all in one season as a 40-year-old quarterback. He had to do that for Woody Johnson. He had to overcome the player personnel decisions by Joe Douglas, which included bringing in some of his buddies like Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, bringing in Nathaniel Hack and the coaching staff. He had to overcome levels of incompetence from the coaching staff on both sides of the football. With Nathaniel Hackett calling plays, they eventually demoted him. They brought up Todd Downing, and he was going to be the play caller. And to me, like, whether you wanted Rodgers back is irrelevant, but because I don't think Rodgers would have succeeded here as much as he's doing with the Steelers. And I'm not a big Mike Tomlin fan, but it seems that they're a match because Mike Tomlin does better with veteran quarterbacks. But right now, it wouldn't have suited. And here's another thing with the whole Rodgers cap thing. The Jets had the chance to eat it all up this year. They could have ate all the dead money this year, but they said, no, we're going to spread it over 2 years.
Yep, and that's another thing when I went back to the whole, why are we paying Justin Fields $30 million if you know we're not competing? Rip the Band-Aid off.
And take all the medicine, whether it's Adams, whether it's Rodgers. Take all the dead cap now, so next year you could sign a bunch of free agents, this on and so forth. No foresight within the organization. And I just mentioned that I thought the 2024 Jets would suck, which I was right, because once again the team has no foresight. They could have fired again, coulda, woulda, shoulda. They could have fired Saleh after 2023. Could have had Jim Harbaugh, who was fresh off a natty with J.J. McCarthy as his quarterback. Or they could have went and say, hey, Mike, I saw you just got fired from the Titans. Mike Vrabel. Come coach us.
And that's the thing that bothers me with the ownership is, people will tell me, well, Jim Harbaugh was never coming here. It's always open and show when you mention these big name guys. And you could ask my father. I've been talking about Jim Harbaugh for the last 10 years. I feel like I would have felt better as the fan if I saw a tweet come out. The Jets did make contact with Jim Harbaugh, and he respectfully declined and said "F you" to us. You know what? That would have showed me they're trying. Even if they said hell no, the phone never rang. What do you say about Loxley from Maryland?
Loxley.
He got the full tour. They sat down with him for 6 hours. I'm like, what are we doing here? Joe B is right. This is the worst run organization. Let me tell you something, whether it's Joe B, you, Luca, me, you put me in the board of directors in one room together for a couple hours, I could put together a better staff. And I could bring in real name candidates. I wouldn't do these sham interviews like Loxley, Spagnola, Nagy. None of those guys were getting the job. I was like, well, you need to look under every rock. No, you don't. Why are you wasting everybody's time? I just want winners in here. Satisfy the Rooney Rule. We all know it's a sham. It's a shame that it is. Satisfy that right off the bat, and then bring in the guys that you're going to be serious about. They fucked it up royally when Mike Vrabel was actually in Florham Park. The fact that he took the interview was huge.
Absolutely. Facts. It trickles down from the Johnsons and our whole Jets organization. Yeah, it starts. Obviously you're not going to get rid of ownership. You can't force them to sell unless this whole Jaime thing turns out into a complete disaster where it now starts affecting the Johnsons to the point where they have to sell, which obviously would be a big scenario, obviously. But, it speaks volumes that Woody's president of the organization, whether it was Neil Glatt or whether it was Jaime, they're lawyers. They're not football people. They could care less. And who's to say, honestly, like, who's to say that, Brick Johnson doesn't have a say in the organization anymore? Who's to say that Woody's hiring all these head coaches that he's trying to control them, trying to be like the reason, once again, people say this and it's true. The reason Woody won't bring in a candidate is A, he won't pay them, B, he won't see control. Maybe Woody wants to control in Aaron Glenn. And I'm not absolving Aaron Glenn as always, but look at that. Vinny, you brought up all this, the 7 of the 8 last head coaches are all inexperienced defensive guys.
Yep, and like I said, it's rinse and repeat. And I said it from the moment they hired him, and and everybody laughed at me, whether it's personally, professionally, on here, Twitter. Oh, you're not even giving him a chance. Once a Jet, always a Jet, which I think that's a lot of bullshit. And, I think it would have been great. It would have been Parcells-esque to bring in a former Patriot to save the Jets and take over the AFC East. You have to understand, I know you're, not old enough to remember.
Yeah.
When I knew Parcells was coming, that was like the greatest day of my life as a football fan. He was coaching the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and everybody knew he was leaving as soon as the game was over to coach the Jets. It wasn't a secret. It was out there. It's like this is going to happen. We're getting a guy that's won Super Bowls in New York. And it was crazy. And people were talking about the Jets in a positive way. Now we're just always the punchline to a bad joke.
If the Jets brought in like a John Harbaugh or even Kevin Stefanski, fans would be doing backflips, absolute backflips. And
I'm not against Stefanski. I want to be clear on that, but I don't think that's good enough for the fans for where we're at right now. Because Stefanski is another, unfortunately for him, a failed Browns head coach. It would take a Harbaugh, a McCarthy, a Gruden. And I would make a very big exception for a Cliff Kingsbury. I really would.
And let me ask this. There's 2 questions. Number one, would you, and people were making these excuses amongst the coaching search and saying, I was to gather information, whatever. Would you have called up Bill Belichick and said, hey, come evaluate the organization in November? You don't think he would have done it? You don't think he would evaluate it honestly?
I have a different view of Bill. Because I'm old enough to remember when he was here and the way he left. And my thing with Bill is you saw Bill for what he was once Tom Brady left. Bill Belichick, no question about it, is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach. No one's going to argue that. But, when you saw what Tom Brady left and he drafted arguably one of the worst quarterbacks in Mac Jones and couldn't develop him, couldn't get it right, couldn't figure it out. I didn't see the guy that won 6 Super Bowls. I see the guy that got fired in Cleveland. So as far as him contacting us, he's 73 years old. What did you expect him to do? And furthermore, let's pretend the dream scenario that he came here, he turned it around, and maybe the Jets won a Super Bowl. The story wouldn't be about the Jets winning their first Super Bowl in 55 years. The story would be it took Bill Belichick to rise the New York Jets from the ashes. It wouldn't even be about us anymore. And I don't want that story. I don't.
I understand that. And here's another question. This was another candidate that was available. And for some, including myself, it was a little bit unrealistic. And obviously you could play hindsight with the team, how this team is doing right now. Would you have talked to Pete Carroll?
I like Pete Carroll. And I feel like the organization did him dirty when he was here. They did big time.
Not even hire him. Talk to him.
Talk to him. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I would talk to him. I would, but he doesn't really. They very sparingly have talked to him about his brief tenure he had in New York, and he either never wants to talk about it, or he doesn't reflect on it too fondly. We'll say that. So I just don't see that as reality. He is also approaching his mid-70s. How much time would you have?
Absolutely.
It's just like look up Parcells. It's the best. He was at that point, and I know he coached the Cowboys later on, but the way sum up Parcells' 3 years with the Jets is, he took us to the altar. He forgot to say "I do."
Let's see, Eagle Fang. When I went to the Bucks game, the Bucks got my money, not the Jets, so I can live with my decision. Yeah, traveling. You might. I'm sure Raymond James Stadium is nicer than MetLife. I'm sure going to all these road games is better than MetLife. Like, MetLife is such a shit experience for both Jets and Giants fans alike. And I know Vinny loves calling the Giants the Smurfs and all, but it's so bad. It's bad for both teams. It's almost like there's like a sacred burial ground that the Jets and Giants disturbed by building that stadium.
Well, you know what it is I obviously, I only root for one football team. I don't root for the Giants unless it's somehow beneficial for the Jets. It's just, my thing is, I'm envious of the Giants. I've seen them win 4 Super Bowls. I've seen them participate in 5 of them. The thing is just, I don't care the fact that the seats are gray. I don't care the fact that the stadium is now co-owned. It's the Meadowlands. The Giants were there first, and I don't care what anybody. It's still Giant Stadium. It doesn't have a home atmosphere for Jet fans. And it pains me to say this, but I'll go out on a limb and say this. Giant Stadium was such a better stadium than MetLife Stadium. I was there at that wild card game when we blasted the Colts 41-0. That's the only professional football game I could say in my life the stadium was shaking. That's how loud it was. If the team starts winning, the Jets fans will show up. They're there. It's just they've had no reason to come out. They haven't. You blame them?
No, absolutely not. I think it's just so bad. Let me see if I get to a night. Eagle Fang, I went to middle school with a Neil O'Donnell jersey, the lowest point of my life when it comes to school.
Parcells hated him, Eagle Fang. I remember that. He hated him. I could tell Eagle Fang, he's definitely older than I am.
Yeah, he said he's been a fan since 1990, but I was going to say, my first jersey, speaking of him, who he's obviously been arrested, Mark Sanchez was my first Jets jersey. It was Brandon Marshall, Jamal Adams, Le'Veon Bell. And I'll be honest, Vinny, thinking about the upcoming season, when I left all my Jets jerseys in New York, I wanted no part of them. My Quinn Williams jersey, my Sauce jersey, my Rodgers jersey, my Mangle jersey, they're all in New York. I didn't bring any of them down here because why? Because to wear the Jets uniform, and I know Chris brings it up, you have to have some sort of pride in your team. No, but what Jet fan is proud to go anywhere and say, I'm proud of my football team. We're 0-5, and we've missed the playoffs for 15 straight years, but I'm proud. And also, let me say this for the record, and I'm not attacking, buddy. I asked this on Twitter, and it's just an observation. It's just a question. If you're a content creator, if you're an optimist, how are you at some level not concerned with this regime right now? At some level, I'm not saying fire them, and I'm not saying exalt them and fire them in the middle of the season. How are you not somewhat concerned? Because you've been watching the same stuff for the past 15 years. Once again, Vinny, you said it earlier. You can't blame them for the past 15 years. You can't blame them for the last regime. But it's the same stuff. 5 games in. 5. They've not won any. How is anybody preaching optimism or it's blind faith at this point. But it's like, how are you not concerned at some level? How are you not having
Luca,
some doubt?
We didn't even mention they're the first team in NFL history to go 5 games and not force a turnover. This is a defensive guy. This is a defensive guy.
Robert Saleh was a better defensive coordinator. Todd Bowles was a better defensive coordinator, but we got this guy because he was a Jet. And once again, I don't want to hear, I said this last week, I don't want to hear about him being a former Jet because I could care less. I know I wasn't alive to watch him. Could care less about the former Jet thing. I could care less that he learned from Parcells, Peyton, Campbell, whoever, because clearly he's not showing any of that.
But they say all this nonsense. Oh yeah, he just spoke with Parcells last week, and then the day before that he had a rah-rah speech from Tony Dungy. Guys,
Jimmy Johnson.
It was over 20 years ago. Like, I was in grade school. Football is so different now. The rules are geared to protect the quarterback. They're not really even hitting each other anymore. The special teams or the kickoff rules, everything is different. There's instant replay. It's not the same type of football.
And it's not the same type of market either. It's not the same type of situation. Like, I get it. The Bucs were obviously irrelevant before Tony Dungy and John Gruden came in. And, obviously Jimmy Johnson, the Cowboys obviously had some glory years, a lot of glory years with Tom Landry as coach. They brought in Jimmy Johnson. But this is a completely different situation, that nobody has patience for. The fans don't have patience. It's 15 years without the playoffs. It will be 15 years without the playoffs. It will be 30 years without the number 1 pick. It will be 23 years, 24 years potentially without a home playoff game and winning a division. And 10 years without a winning record. We're not talking playoffs, a winning record. 2016, 10-loss season. 2017, 10-loss season. 2018, 10-loss season. 2019, 7-9, but they won meaningless games. 2020, 10-loss season. 2021, 10-loss season. 22, 23, 24, 10-loss season. Did I get you guys get the point? That this is and people, and again, name dropping Dan Campbell as people are doing. Dan Campbell's team started out 0-11. These situations could not be more different. Stop dropping name Dan Campbell, please.
Did you have all that memorized, or are you reading off the screen? That was good.
No, I swear. It's all based on memory. It's all based on memory because I'll say this for the record, I used to be that hopeful Jet fan. I used to be that guy, but it's just all the losing, obviously, on all of us takes its toll. But it was like 2016 and 2017, both 5-11. 2018, 4-12. 2020, 2-14. 2021, they were 4-13. 2022, 7-10. 2023, 7-10. And 2024, they were in 5-12. But again, another excuse for Aaron Glenn. People are saying, well, he took over a barren roster. He took over a situation. What situation did I don't know who the GM is for the Commanders, but what situation did Dan Quinn have to take over? It wasn't a great situation. Ron Rivera was trash. He was past it. New ownership. And they had to wipe away the stench of Dan Snyder. Gets a new coach.
But they did it in 2 years. Exactly. With the right coach and, more importantly, the right quarterback. 2 years. I got another example. The Cincinnati Bengals. They get the number 1 pick with Joe Burrow. 2 years later, they're AFC champions. It's like they preach patience.
It was actually Vinny. It was actually a year later. They had the number 1 pick in 20.
Even better than
1 year. 1 year with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, and Joe Burrow. They went to the Super Bowl and were close to beating the Rams.
Yeah, then they were in it, and that was with one of the shittiest offensive lines I ever saw assembled in a Super Bowl, and they were that close. And that just goes to show when you have the right quarterback. And don't tell me that the number 1 pick doesn't help. It does. It does. You're getting the best player in the country.
Not only are you getting the best player in the country, you get your basically choice of quarterbacks. Again, there's not a consensus this year. You could pick John Mateer if you want. You can pick Dante Moore if you want. Nussmeier, whoever. You have your pick of the litter. The Jets never had, even with Lawrence, and I will say this, Vinny, you can agree, disagree. I still think that 2020 meaningless win against the Rams stings the Jets today. And it's not even about Lawrence. You could have your opinions about Lawrence, whether he's an underperformer, whether he's lived up to the number 1 pick. The head coach was a part of that selling point for the number 1 pick. Or you could say vice versa. The number 1 pick in cap space would have been the great selling point for the head coach. You could have hired Harbaugh then.
There was even rumors online at that point that I don't know if anyone remembers this. Even Bill Cowher was thinking about it.
Yes.
And there was little hints being dropped that was just like, they were like, would you entertain coaching the New York Jets? And he didn't say yes or no, but he'd make a comment say, my wife is a diehard New York Jets fan.
So insinuating, yeah.
But, if they had the number 1 pick and Trevor Lawrence is sitting there at the time when they calling him this generational talent and the best prospect to come out since John Elway, I mean, how could you say no? With a ton of money to spend, high draft picks, it makes the job so much. And it's New York. I'll go back to it. It's New York. Whoever ends this drought, and we're fans and we're crazy, we're addicted to this team. I mean, for God's sake, I aside from my wife and my 2 kids that I love more than anything, I've invested more money into the Jets than any other thing in life, that's how we're addicted to this team. And one day I think we're going to see it happen. I have to believe that. And whoever ends that drought, whoever the coach and the quarterback is, if we're still in that big air conditioner, there'll be a statue dedicated to the both of them.
Exactly. And again, it's tough right now, and obviously it is, but like, I really question whether Aaron Glenn is the guy to lead or not. But some more comments. Our Jets fan base, community, family, nation deserves it all. I wish our New York Jets Jets team and organization was as half as good as our fan base, in my opinion, always wearing Jets gear no matter what. Listen, I have my Jets hat somewhere. I will always support the team. I'm not a bandwagon fan. And somebody said years ago, there is no such thing as a bandwagon Jet fan. Never. You are either born to this by family or picked this by choice. There is no, or whether you're a New Yorker, if you're from Connecticut, Vinny, Jersey, whatever, you will pick this team by choice.
Do you know how many Jets chapters of fan bases there are across this country? I've traveled, Luca. Like, my phone's about to die. I don't know how late you're going to stay on, but I got to tell you, man, there's fan clubs of the Jets. Like, the Giants are the bigger Giants, the bigger New York team. We know that. But coast to coast, I think we have more fans. They have chapters of fan clubs in Tampa, in LA, in Miami, in Buffalo. I went to LA and I went to a Jets fan club in Burbank, actually, downtown Los Angeles. And they have a Jets fan club out there where they pack almost 500 Jets fans every Sunday. And I remember when I went out there, I was like, well, why are you guys all Jets fans again? And it's an amazing story. It's like in 1994 when the Rams and the Raiders left LA, and LA didn't have a team for a long time. Everybody scrambled to pick new teams. And they were like, we wanted something fresh, no fan base, no followers, no bandwagon, nothing. And they've been there ever since. And some of them are actually New York transplants.
Oh, I could imagine. Listen, there's a lot of Jet fans last year at the Tennessee Titan game, but I know your phone is dying. I just want to pull out something 1 sec. Maybe a team that'll actually be happy for you. Give me 1 second. Hold on. One team we can agree on that hopefully is good this year. New York Rangers.
Oh, yeah. That's another one I would love to see. I would love that. That's one of the 2 teams, like, because I'm also a Yankee fan, as you know. The Yankees have spoiled me my whole life. But if the Jets or the Rangers win a championship on my life, that would be enough to bring me down to tears over sports.
And you weren't a fan. Let me just say this: you weren't a fan when they won in '94.
No, I'm actually an old school Hartford Whalers fan. So I actually stopped watching hockey after '97 for a couple of years when they left, because that was devastating when we lost them. And I know they're never coming back because, when you're competing with 2 New York teams, a team in New Jersey, a team in Boston, it's difficult. But, I love being a Ranger fan now. And somebody told me, what if they ever did come back? Well, think of a girl cheating on you for 25 years and said, oh, I'm back. I'm like, would you take her? I'm like, probably not. So I do remember them winning it. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And, and the thing that makes that championship so special is you never had to hear about 1940 ever again.
In my sports lifetime, I've not seen any of my teams win in a sports lifetime, not my regular lifetime. My sports lifetime, I've never seen any of my teams win a championship. I was too young for the Rangers to actually see them go to the Stanley Cup in 2014. The Yankees literally won the World Series 2 years before I started watching baseball. Jets, obviously, Knicks, obviously, that's like a long ways away. Same thing with the Rangers. But Vinny, do you have any final thoughts? Let me say this for the record also as well. I do have Vinny's Twitter in the description, so please check him out on Twitter. He has some great takes. I know he pisses people off. He doesn't care. He tells it the way it is. Vinny, do you have any final thoughts, my man?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we're still not built for this shit. No, but don't give up hope, guys. I firmly believe, like I said, I lived through the Leon Hess years, which were just as brutal as this. I mean, a good humanitarian that man was, but he was another horrific NFL owner. And one day he did wake up. And I'd like to believe that there's a human part to Woody Johnson, that he sees that the fan base loves the team. You know, I was born into this myself. I have no ties to New York. I have family in Jersey, but I live in the heart of New England, and I hate all the Boston-based teams. So it's when I tell people I'm a Jet fan, they go, "Why?" And my dad has been a Jet fan since he came to this country in 1984. He saw the colors. He fell in love with the Sack Exchange when he saw Gastineau and Klecko, and he was like, "These are my guys." And I would love nothing more to just one day sit on the couch and just watch the Jets in the Super Bowl. That would be my dream. I mean, he's a bigger soccer fan. I watched Italy win the World Cup with him in 2006, and that was like the best feeling ever for those of us that actually, watch soccer still. But if the Jets won it, because football is my favorite sport, I'm from this country, but that would be, it would be really special to me. It really would.
Yeah, it would be special, all of us. I would cry, obviously. I would be a tad emotional when this team gets back to the playoffs. Because been 15 years? I was, in second grade when they last made the playoffs. But without further ado, thank you, Vinny. Thank you, bro, for coming on. Obviously, you're all welcome as always. We're probably going to do more of these streams because the Jets are just going to keep losing and losing and losing. We'll be talking.
I would be honored, and thank you again for having me on. I missed being a YouTuber, but I did it for 3 years. I had my own channel. My old videos are still up, but the year that Rodgers got hurt, that's what ended up breaking me, and then I couldn't do it anymore after that.
Yeah, that was my version of the Vinny Testaverde injury. But once again, man, thank you, Vinny. We'll talk.
Take care.
Peace. All right. So I want to get some more comments, and then I think we'll end it off. It was a great talk with Vinny. Fail Mary. My sister's a Jet fan. She went with her fiance to the Dolphins Jets game, Black Friday game at Jet Life Stadium. Yeah, that was a disaster. As I said, I was in the press box for that event. Fail Mary game on Black. Yep, I was there. Finding new ways to suck is the Jets' only motto. Yes, it's not take flight. It's finding new ways to suck for ineptitude. Noticing the pattern when teams stop blitzing, the Jets score. Yeah, Justin Fields cannot read a blitz ever. And here's the thing. I think I read this stat today. This was from Connor Hughes, and it might have been PFF or NFL Next Gen Stats, whatever. The Jets, I think, blitzed the 7th most in the NFL. And the sack percentage or the pressure percentage from those blitzes are 32. They're worse than the NFL. So that's the Jets for you. Yep, that is so true on both sides of the ball. Easiest team to game plan against right now. Steelers game was most competitive and best offensive performance of our New York Jets so far, in my opinion, as a Jet fan. I would say for the Aaron Glenn tenure for sure, because the Jets had no film on them. You didn't know what they were going to do. And the next week, they were figured out by the Buffalo Bills. So every team has film on the Jets right now. And the week one felt like a complete euphoria, despite losing, as opposed to what it is right now. Garrett Wilson is 10th all-time in catches for the Jets. That'll only rise further. Hopefully, he continues with this organization. He is great. Next 4 games, Broncos, Panthers, Bengals, and Browns. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Bengals will be probably Armand, if he's still in the chat, he's full tank right now. Broncos is a loss. Panthers, you could argue that's a loss. Fans might even travel from Carolina. Who knows? The Bengals, that could be a loss. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Mike White might even play that game. Who knows? Browns, that could be, in theory, a game that they win, because they could either have Shador or Dylan Gabriel playing. But with the way the Jets defense, or the way Jets play defense, they can make Dylan Gabriel look like Michael Vick, or they can make Shador Sanders look like Randall Cunningham. Who knows? So, when you think of the Patriots, you think of Belichick and Brady. When you think of the Cowboys, yeah, all the legends. Who do we have? Few more comments when it comes to Jets. We talk about Rich Kotite more than Super Bowl. Yeah, it's quite sad. Quentin Williams is no Aaron Donald. I love some YouTubers I follow, no disrespect to them. Nowhere in the league of Donald and Garrett where he should be at the point of his career, being picked third overall. Bo says 2 major injuries. Yep, completely agree. Trade number 1 like the Bears did, getting up heavy picks. Completely agree. I'll determine that at the end of the year whether the quarterback class is good or not. Glenn's ex-teammates, I won't name them, don't like when you tell the truth. And AG's dishonesty, they will belittle you and treat like trash. Yeah, I know you're talking about Eagle Fang. Whether it was me or Vinny debating him, he listen, there's one thing defending your ex-teammate, but it was completely stupidity coming out of his mouth. I'm sorry. I know he's a former player. I know who you're talking about again, but it was ridiculous, whatever came out of his mouth. I don't know a person to have my thoughts and opinions how good of a coach. Yeah. The old Meadowlands when the Jets played the Patriots or Rex first year, that stadium was so loud. I'm sure it was. I wish I was there, but I was only 6. I have not worn a Jets jersey since Revis. I don't blame you. Cohen's Jags are beating the Chiefs. Now, the same guy that awkwardly, yeah, it's funny because you really shouldn't deter. It's funny because the old saying goes, well, not even old saying, you shouldn't even determine a head coach's tenure based on his press conference. A lot of people, including myself, thought Glenn spoke great. Same thing with Salah. They went downhill. Dan Campbell, he's seen as a clown. Liam Cohen, seen as a clown. But, hey, they're doing well, so you really don't take it out of a press conference when you take these time, guys. You're the Jets got Keyshawn. He was not the best player in the class. Guess who was? Not sure, to be honest. I think you could probably get an answer to that. Only time I went to a Jet game in 2015 was 10-6. Wow. Jets beat the Jaguars. I do remember that. Fitzpatrick Marsh. Yeah, last Jets team I actually enjoyed watching, apart from 22 when the Jets were winning some games. Yeah, I was to 10. Yeah, you weren't far off in terms of age for me. They said he was too small. They did not. They said he did not have what it takes to make the league. But only models game after Lombardi. Jerry, great. Yep, Adam Peters, you're absolutely right. Mendoza, God, that was a horrible game. Ray Lewis was the better player. Yeah, Ray Lewis, arguably one of the greatest linebackers of all time, top 5. Question Rex's IQ when he declined Ray Lewis to being a Jet. Sadly, I was right. Rex had no idea. Yeah, once he took over Mangini's team, he was toast. He was absolutely toast. Bad player evaluation. Kyle Wilson, Quinton Coples, whoever. I'm a Bolts fan. Rangers have the coolest goal sound in hockey. I'll give them that. I've been to MSG a few times. Saw the Yankees 5 of them. Bolts win 3. Jets and Magic 0. I guess you're old enough to see the Magic go to the finals twice. I mean, that's like, I guess that counts for something. I'm a Jets fan, Yankee Devil fan. Hope best for teams. Much respect. JT, yep, always hoping. Same thing for me. Need these therapy sessions. Yeah, that's why I opened up to you guys. And eventually when this channel grows a little bit bigger, I'll have you guys on the panel. Cowboys win the bottom of the league and getting to the quarterback. They were right. You're right. And they were also bad in the bottom league turnovers and got 6 sacks. Can you picture if Parsons would have played the Jets? Yeah, they would have given him 10 sacks. Need better fundamentals, discipline, and better basics. Yeah, so much for being a detail-oriented coach. He's not. Aaron Glenn. Eagle Gang, my friend. Let's see. Mangini is the best Jets drafting guy they ever had. Yeah, true. Look at those classes. Eric Smith, Darrell Revis, Brickishaw Ferguson, Brad Smith, Nick Mangold, David Harris, go on and on and on. Dustin Keller, too. But hour 22, you guys were all great. Appreciate y'all coming in here, whether it was Chris, Armand, whoever, even new guys, Sean Green as well. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn notification bells so when I go live or drop a new video. Could be another therapy session next week. Once again, because the Jets are probably going to lose. But I hate being this. Once again, I hate being this negative. I hate being this toxic. I guess someone would say toxic or pessimistic. But there's nothing to hope for right now for the Jets. I appreciate all you optimistic fans, but I think it's blind at this point. But regardless, we'll be having more of these therapy streams, even victory streams as well, if the Jets decide to win a game or two. But with that being said, folks, I'll talk to you later. And as always,